three myths. You probably heard about it and they are wasting your time. You're praying for the Nclex and you hear these myths and it's like, oh, I can't do this. This is impossible. How am I supposed to achieve this task? These myths are holding you back. And I'm here to set the record straight. So welcome everyone. It's your girl Anita, your favorite registered nurse. So I make Nclex content to help nurses that are trying to write the Nclex prepare very well for the Nclex, and also give nursing tips to help nurses study smarter and more effectively. So if you've been here with me, this is not your first time, if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for staying with me. Thank you so much for staying with me, for keeping up with me. And if you're a new subscriber, if you're a new person here, please kindly subscribe, and there's more to come. Thank you. So speaking of these myths, number one myth on my list has got to be you must study 8 to 10 hours every day for you to pass. Yeah, you need to study, but it's not about studying for long hours or longer hours. It's more about the quality of your studying than the quantity. Yeah, you heard me right. I know some people would say they do not grab information as fast as others and they need to study longer. Yeah, but if you introduce smart strategies, you would have to study shorter than you would have normally done. I don't know if you get me. So first of all, I would tell you to focus on doing a lot of practice questions. Yeah, you need to know your content. Yeah, that's good. Like by reading materials for the Nclex. You also need to focus on practice questions, because from answering questions, you get more acquainted with your content. It's more like you are putting your content into practice. And also from answering questions, you just might get to see some things that you are not able to come across while reading for your content. And that will also help you to get more acquainted with your content areas and also more prepared and more confident to go write the exam. So one of my friends that just recently passed the exam told me, she was like, Anita, that I did a lot of practice questions. And I was like, yes, exactly, because that's exactly what I did. Because when she was preparing for the Nclex, I did tell her that she needs to do a lot of practice questions. So do a lot of practice questions as much as possible. Then second of all, I will tell you to focus on active recall. We'll go into that in a minute. Active recall, targeted reviews. So if you use these smart strategies, you are sure to be able to study smarter, to be able to gain a lot of information within a shorter period of time than you would have normally done, and to be able to also retain a lot of information, because it's not about you just studying, it's about you be able to actually retain it and also use it when you need to. So let's get right into it. So let's talk about active recall. Active recall, just like the name implies, is when you actively try to remember information from your memory without looking at your notes or wherever that information has been stored. So instead of you reading that content or highlighting it, because most times we do this thing where we have different colors of marker and we just mark some areas. So instead of doing those things, you're trying to pull that information from your brain by yourself. And what this will do is that to help to improve your memory and also your understanding. And let me tell you why this will work. Because when you test your brain like this, when you test yourself like this, you're trying to tell your brain to work smarter, to work faster. It's more like telling your brain to wake up, we have much work to do. You're forcing your brain to work harder. So and what it will do is that it will help to improve retention. It will help with long-term retention. So you're preparing for the Nclex here. So even after you've gone to write the Nclex, you still have this information stored up. Because what this active recall will do is that it keeps that information for you for a longer period of time. Just look at it like you're trying to build muscles. The more you lift weights, the more your muscle strength improves. I can testify to that. Since I started lifting weights, I've seen my muscle strength go from like 40% to about 80%. So the more you do this active recall, the more your memory gets stronger. You can remember things, you retain information longer, and this will help you study smarter and reduce the hours you would have used to study. Instead of studying for longer hours, you're studying for lesser than you would have normally done. So let's talk about how you can apply this active recall while studying. Number one on my list has got to be flashcards. You could get flashcards from using apps like Quizlet, Anki, where the front usually is the question, then the back is the answer, something like this. So it's very useful. So you could download one of these apps and use these flashcards. Number two has got to be practice questions from your Nclex question banks. When you answer a question, try to see why the others are wrong. Recall the information. Ask yourself, why is this right and why are these ones wrong? For example, you're given a question that has 4 options. One is right and the other 3 are wrong. So get to know or ask yourself why those other ones are wrong. And when you get to answer the question, make sure you don't just read the rationale for the right answer. Make sure you also read the rationale for the wrong answers and try to recall those information. Number 3 has got to be closed book recall sessions. Like after reading a particular topic, let's say for example you read on airborne precautions, make sure you write down everything you've learned about it. For example, you could write down, oh, you have the nurse has to wear an N95 respirator mask, airborne precautions, you use it for measles, for tuberculosis, for varicella, right? Oh, the patient has to make sure the patient wears a surgical mask when leaving the room, or we have to use a negative air pressure. Make sure you write down all the things you've gotten from that area. Say it, just say it out. So number 4 has got to be teaching others. If you have people that are preparing the exam with you, you have your colleagues, your classmates, you could actually try to teach them what you've learned. It helps to actually retain this information. By doing so, you're trying to actually actively recall this information from your memory. Or you could pretend to. I did this a lot. Like I just say the information out loud like I'm teaching a class. That helps to actually keep that information grounded. So number 5 has got to be brain dumps. After a study section, make sure you write down everything you've learned so far. Get a book and a biro and write down everything you learned so far. That's why I always say you need to jot when preparing for the Nclex. You need to jot, write down things. So that is it. So let's look at targeted reviews. Just like the name implies, you're targeting a particular area. Targeting review is just about you trying to focus on areas that you are actually weak in instead of reviewing every area equally. So why this will help you is that you stop wasting your time on areas that you're already like really strong in, that you really know, and you make faster progress by actually going after those areas that you are weak in. And while studying for those areas you are weak in, it will help you to be able to build enough confidence before the exam day. So how can you use these targeted reviews in studying? First of all, you have to know the areas you're weak in. And how we know the areas you're weak in is by actually studying. While studying, you get to know the areas that you are weak in and the areas you're stronger in. So it's more like a baseline check. Just from practicing questions, from reading, you get to see the areas that you are not so good in. So you're able to identify those areas that you are constantly getting wrong. So from identifying them, you make a weak list area. You're able to pen down those areas you are weak in. Like if I ask most people prepare for the Nclex areas they are weak in, you hear people say pharmacology, you hear psychiatry, you hear ECG. And I always say to students that pharmacology is broad. Every system has a pharmacology. Endocrine system is pharmacology. Cardiovascular system is pharmacology. Psychiatry is pharmacology. Neurological system is pharmacology. Cardiovascular system is pharmacology. Pharmacology goes way beyond. So let's say, for example, you're able to be like, oh, pharmacology, you have a problem with insulin types. You could pen that down. And maybe you have a problem with safety and infection control. Maybe under airborne precautions, you pen that down. Let's say you have a problem with psychiatry, you pen that down, and probably the pharmacology or psychiatry or therapeutic communication, you pen that down. So you've already made the list of those areas that you are weak in, and you know that these are the areas you need to put in more energy in. So now that you've made the list of your weak areas, it's time for you to create a study plan. Create a mini study plan. So you can spend about 70 to 80% of your time on those areas you're weak in. Spend about 20 to 30% on the areas you're already strong in so that you don't forget it, to help with reinforcement. Most times we deceive ourselves. You know that you are very good, for example, in endocrine system, And you're practicing questions on endocrine system, you're seeing you're getting 80%, 90%. You're raising your shoulder pads and you're showing your friends, this is what I got. I got 70, I got 80% or 90% endocrine. Person's like, wow. And then when you go and write the exam and you do not pass, and the person will be like, all those high scores. After getting all those high scores, you still didn't pass. Like, why? And everything. The problem is that you are focusing more on your strong areas. You know that this is the areas you are strong in, but those were the areas you kept reviewing, kept answering questions on. Like the other areas did not matter. Stop deceiving yourself. You know that the areas you are weak in. Study, spend more time studying them. You are weak in drug calculations. You won't say, they will not ask me drug calculation or whatever. Try and practice it. You are weak in these areas. Those areas you find out that you are weak in. Do more practice. Study more about them. Answer more questions about them. Spend more time with them. Then spend lesser time with those questions or those areas that you are strong in. You can't review them equally at this point. You need to get them at the same range. Then later on, probably towards when you are going to go and write your exam, you can now try to review them equally. But you know that these are your weak areas. Focus more on your weak areas. Please stop causing harm to yourself by just putting all your energy in those strong areas. So one other way you can use this targeted review is by doing active recall and practice questions for each weak area. So don't just read on it. Make sure you are testing yourself, doing a lot of practice questions, using flashcards to make sure you get this topic or this area really grounded so you become really good at it. Last thing on my list is going to be to track your progress weekly. After a few days, you need to test to see if those areas are actually improving. You can try to update your list. Okay, probably you check out pharmacology from it, you're not really good at it. Check out drug calculation from it, you're not really good at it. So please, it's very important that you focus more on those weak areas. Put in these strategies, these tips in helping you to study well, study smarter, and build your confidence. Because the more you know about this Nclex, the more confident you are while going to write this exam. So the second myth on my list has got to be you need to read every page of the Nclex book. For example, the standard is really big, is really mighty. Like, you need to read every page of it. I've had people ask me like, Anita, how did you do it? So you read all these standards beginning to end. I'm like, nah, I didn't do that. I ain't about that life. I didn't do that. So that's like overwhelming and unnecessary. You don't need to read the book cover to cover. I don't need to start covering a whole lot of books and all in the name of you're trying to get a lot of content. So I need to read this whole book. I need to read this. I need to read this. I need to read that. Just stick to like high yield content and master the test format. Stick to high yield content. What you can read, get a lot of information. Like I always say, you have online materials. There are PDFs set for quick reads, like the Nclex yellow book, Nclex blue book, the Nclex 35 pages. There are these quick reads you can go to. For me, like I'll tell people, like when I was using the Sundars, I used Sundars to be able to get like more information on a particular content area. I didn't start going word for word. I stuck to hide content, getting content from YouTubers, like I did mention in my video when I talked about tips on passing the Nclex iron. I tried to master the test format. Like I'll say, Nclex would love to trick you. So like recently, I got to answer a question on Parkland formula. Yeah, it was about calculating bonds. The question was about the client having the client has superficial bonds to a particular area. The client had partial thickness bonds to a particular area, and the client had full thickness bonds to a particular area. So they were trying to answer this question. It was put in a group, and some people had comfort and like the answer is not there. There were options, the answer is not there. I did look at it and I was like, let me just answer it. I just saw it on my phone. I would normally not even really engage or not see those questions. Or when I see it, it's already past the time and I just leave it. So I was like, let me answer this question. I didn't even get to look at the formula that, or the working that people used. One person actually dropped the workings of how she got it. That person dropped the answer. I didn't look at it because we are saying that the answer is not there. I had to solve it myself and see if the answer was not really there. And then I started solving, and then I read the question very well. Like I always say, read your question very well. That's one thing you need to know to be able to pass the Nclex. You need to be able to read your question very well. There's something you might be missing. So I read the question very well. And then I saw that superficial bonds, and that's why your content area comes in. You need to be able to know your content. So me reading the question very well and also me knowing the content made me realize that, oh, Parkland formula is not used for superficial bonds. I didn't even know that that's what they were missing. Like I said earlier, I didn't even look at the workings that somebody posted. Then I just put it out, and then I was able to get the answer was in the option. And they're like, show the working, let's see. And then I pasted it out. And they're like, what of the superficial bonds? You didn't record it. And that's when I now had to type that this is Parkland formula. You don't use Parkland formula for superficial bonds, because superficial bonds are very little bonds. There's no fluid loss from this capillary leakage. So it's first degree bonds. It's more like saw bonds or these thermal bonds. You don't need to give fluid resuscitation for that. You don't use Parkland formula for that. You could use Parkland formula for third degree, second degree, and third degree, like a partial thickness and your full thickness. That was how I was able to get it and get the answer and find out that the answer was in the option. So that's just basically you mastering the test format. So if I was to answer a question like that the next time, I'll be able to remember that, oh, this is what happened the last time. So let me check out for something like this in this question. So it will help you stay away from the tricks that the Nclex love to set. And because of these tricks, and most times we can overlook these tricks because we do not read into this question very well. And one way you can master the test format is by actually focusing on practice questions. Remember the first meet where I talked about smart strategies, where you should focus on practice questions. So you need to do more practice questions so you get acquainted to the test format and you do not fall for these tricks. And the third myth on my list is that select whether apply means you failed the question. So most times we are told that during the exam, when you answer questions and they keep bringing select whether apply, it means that you failed the question. But you failed the previous questions, it means that you're not doing well. But that is just a whole lie, a whole myth. It actually means you are going to the higher level. It means you are doing well. So the computer is just basically bringing more questions your way. So do not be scared. You're actually on the right track. So my people, we finally come to the end of this video. Thank you for staying with me to the end of this video. Please let me know what other myths you've heard about the Nclex. Kindly drop it in the comment section so I get to see it and every other person get to see it. So I remain your girl Anita, and please do not forget to like, to comment, to subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to be notified whenever I drop a new video. More videos coming soon, and thank you for doing this with me. Thank you so much. Bye bye.